Imagine driving down a quiet Massachusetts road at 2 in the morning. Your headlights cut through the fog, and suddenly, something massive steps out of the tree line. It stands over 7 feet tall, covered in matted dark fur, and for a split second, it turns and looks directly at you with eyes that seem almost human. Before you can process what you're seeing, it vanishes into the darkness of the swamp. You sit there, heart pounding, hands shaking, trying to convince yourself that what you just witnessed wasn't real. But deep down, you know the truth. You've just had an encounter in the Bridgewater Triangle, and you're not the first. In fact, you one of thousands who have witnessed something unexplainable in this 200 square mile stretch of southeastern Massachusetts. Something that locals have been whispering about for over 300 years. What I am about to share with you today will fundamentally change the way you think about unexplained phenomena in America. Forget everything you know about Area 51, the Bermuda Triangle, or Skinwalker Ranch. Those places have nothing on what happens in the quiet suburbs and ancient swamps of Massachusetts. I've spent the last 3 months researching this topic, interviewing witnesses, and digging through police reports that will genuinely disturb you. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why paranormal researchers consider the Bridgewater Triangle to be the most consistently active supernatural hotspot in the entire United States. And trust me when I say this, some of what you're about to hear has never been compiled in a single video before. Before we dive into the darkness, let me give you the lay of the land, because geography is absolutely essential to understanding why this particular region has become a magnet for the unexplained. The Bridgewater Triangle is defined by 3 towns that form its points: Abington to the north, Rehoboth to the southeast, and Freetown to the southwest. Within these boundaries, you'll find some of the most historically significant and genuinely terrifying locations in American history. We're talking about the Hockomock Swamp, which the local Wampanoag tribe literally named the place where spirits dwell. We're talking about the Freetown Forest, where satanic cults performed actual documented rituals throughout the 1970s and 80s. We're talking about Anawan Rock, where the last great battle of King Philip's War took place, and where witnesses still report seeing the ghosts of fallen Native American warriors to this very day. Now here's what makes the Bridgewater Triangle different from every other paranormal hotspot you've ever heard of. This isn't a place where one type of phenomenon occurs. This is a place where literally everything happens. UFO sightings? Check. Bigfoot encounters? Absolutely documented. Ghost sightings? More than anywhere else in New England. Thunderbird reports? Yes, actual giant prehistoric birds. Cattle mutilations? Confirmed by local farmers. Cult activity? Unfortunately, very real and very dark. Poltergeist activity? There are homes within this triangle that have been investigated by every major paranormal team in the country. The statistical probability of all these different phenomena occurring in one concentrated area is essentially 0, and yet the evidence is overwhelming. Something is very, very wrong with this land, and it has been for a very, very long time. The ancient history, 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock. To understand the Bridgewater Triangle, we need to go back long before European settlers ever set foot on this continent. The Wampanoag people, who have inhabited this region for over 12,000 years, have always known that certain places carry different energy than others. They understood that the land itself can hold memory, trauma, and power. And when it came to the area we now call the Bridgewater Triangle, their message was crystal clear: stay away. The Hockomock Swamp, which sits at the heart of the triangle, was considered sacred and forbidden ground. Tribal elders warned that the swamp was a gateway, a thin place where the boundary between our world and the spirit world became dangerously permeable. They believed that entering the swamp without proper spiritual protection was essentially inviting something to follow you back out. Now here's where history takes a dark turn that most people don't know about. In 1675, one of the bloodiest conflicts in American history erupted across New England. King Philip's War, named after the Wampanoag leader Metacom, who the English called King Philip, resulted in the deaths of thousands of Native Americans and colonists alike. Proportionally, it remains the deadliest war in American history. And guess where some of the most brutal fighting took place? Right here in the Bridgewater Triangle. The war ended in August of 1676 at Anawan Rock, located in Rehoboth, where the last Wampanoag war chief Anawan was captured and subsequently executed. According to historical accounts and Native American oral tradition, the land was cursed after this betrayal. The spirits of the fallen warriors would never rest, and the land would forever be marked by their suffering. But the darkness didn't stop there. Over the next 3 centuries, the Bridgewater Triangle will become the site of some of the most disturbing events in Massachusetts history. In the 1800s, multiple accounts of strange creatures emerging from the Hockomock Swamp began appearing in local newspapers. Farmers reported livestock being killed in ways that veterinarians couldn't explain. Travelers on lonely roads described encounters with entities that defied description. And by the time the 20th century arrived, the reports had become so frequent and so consistent that researchers began to take notice. Something was happening in southeastern Massachusetts, something that couldn't be easily dismissed. Let's talk about the heart of darkness itself, the Hockomock Swamp, covering nearly 17,000 acres. It's one of the largest freshwater swamps in the northeastern United States. And it's also one of the most terrifying places you could ever step foot in. The swamp is a maze of standing water, thick vegetation, and islands of solid ground that seem to shift and change depending on the season. People have gotten lost in there and never come out. But getting lost isn't what makes the Hockomock truly terrifying. It's what people encounter when they're inside. The Bigfoot sightings here are unlike anything reported elsewhere in the country. In 1970, a man named Joseph Dendrati was driving along Route 106 near the swamp when he saw something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Standing in a clearing just off the road was a creature that stood approximately 7 feet tall, covered in dark brown hair, with a face that looked almost but not quite human. Dendrati stopped his car and watched as the creature slowly turned its head, looked directly at him, and then walked calmly into the swamp. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't on drugs. He was a regular working-class man who had no reason to make up such a story. And his account matched dozens of others that had been reported in the area over the previous decades. But here's where things get really strange. In 1978, a creature matching the exact same description was spotted again near the Hockomock, but this time, it wasn't alone. Police officer Thomas Downey received a call about a strange animal near the swamp and arrived to find what he described as a massive, hairy, bipedal creature standing in the fog. As he approached it in his patrol car, the creature vanished, not ran away, not walked into the trees, vanished into thin air. Officer Downey filed an official report, and his account remains in police records to this day. A trained law enforcement officer, someone whose job requires accurate observation and truthful reporting, witnessed something that defied all rational explanation. The creature sightings continued through the 80s, 90s, and right up to the present day. In 2006, multiple witnesses reported seeing a large ape-like creature near the border of the swamp over a period of several weeks. In 2015, a father and son fishing at the edge of the Hockomock reported hearing something massive moving through the underbrush, followed by a smell so foul that they both became nauseous. They left immediately and have never returned. Just last year, in 2023, a trail camera set up by a local researcher captured an image that set the cryptozoology community on fire. The image shows a large, dark figure standing behind a tree, partially obscured but clearly bipedal and clearly not a bear. The researcher, whose identity I'm protecting at their request, told me that they've been documenting activity in the Triangle for over 15 years, and that the Hockomock Swamp is unlike anywhere else they've ever investigated. But Bigfoot isn't the only cryptid that calls the Hockomock home. Multiple witnesses over the decades have reported seeing giant snakes, some estimated to be over 20 feet long, gliding through the swamp waters. Others have described encounters with enormous black dogs with glowing red eyes, a phenomenon that mirrors the legendary black shuck of English folklore. And perhaps most disturbing of all are the Thunderbird sightings. These reports describe massive birds with wingspans of 10 to 12 feet circling over the swamp or perched in dead trees. In 1984, two witnesses independently reported seeing a creature that looked like a pterodactyl flying over the Hockomock at dusk. Neither witness knew the other, yet their descriptions were nearly identical. If cryptid sightings weren't enough, the Bridgewater Triangle is also one of the most active UFO hotspots in the entire country. And I'm not talking about blurry lights in the sky that could be anything. I'm talking about close encounters that have left witnesses traumatized and changed forever. The most famous incident occurred on March 23, 1979, and it remains one of the most well-documented UFO cases in Massachusetts history. At approximately 8:30 in the evening, residents across multiple towns within the triangle began calling police to report strange lights in the sky. But these weren't just lights. Witnesses described a massive football-shaped object hovering silently over the treetops. The object was described as having a row of windows around its midsection, through which witnesses claimed they could see figures moving inside. One witness, a nurse returning home from her shift at a local hospital, described pulling over to the side of the road and watching the craft for nearly 10 minutes. She said it moved in ways that no conventional aircraft could, stopping instantly, changing direction at right angles, and accelerating at speeds that seemed impossible. Multiple police officers also witnessed the object and filed official reports. But here's what makes this case truly remarkable. As the object moved across the sky, it seemed to be following a specific path that traced the exact boundaries of the Bridgewater Triangle, almost as if it was surveying the area or patrolling it. Researchers who have studied the case suggest that the triangle may be some kind of waypoint or landmark for whatever intelligence is operating these craft. The consistency of UFO sightings along the triangle's borders supports this theory. Throughout the 1980s and 90s, the sightings continued. In 1994, a family of 4 was driving through Freetown when they encountered a triangular craft hovering directly over the road ahead of them. The father, an engineer with a major aerospace company, estimated the craft to be roughly the size of a football field. It was completely silent and had lights at each of its 3 points. The family sat in their car, frozen, for what they thought was about 30 seconds. When they finally started driving again and arrived home, they discovered that nearly 2 hours had passed. They had no memory of what happened during that missing time. This case was investigated by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, and remains classified as unexplained. The UFO activity in the triangle shows no signs of slowing down. In recent years, with more people carrying smartphones capable of recording video, the number of documented sightings has actually increased. In 2019, a viral video captured over the Hockomock Swamp showed 3 orange orbs moving in formation before, simultaneously shooting straight up and disappearing. The video was analyzed by several researchers and has never been debunked. In 2022, a commercial pilot flying over the triangle reported seeing an object that he described as a metallic cube inside a transparent sphere. His report was submitted to the FAA and matches other cube and sphere sightings that have been reported by military pilots in other locations. We need to talk about the Freetown Forest State Forest, because this is where the Bridgewater Triangle goes from mysterious to genuinely disturbing. This 5,000-acre forest has been the site of more documented criminal activity, cult rituals, and paranormal encounters than arguably any other public land in America. And the things that have happened here will keep you up at night. In the 1970s and 80s, the forest became a gathering place for satanic cults operating in the region. This isn't speculation or urban legend. This is documented fact. Police repeatedly responded to reports of rituals being conducted in the forest, and they found evidence that chilled them to the bone: altars constructed from stone, symbols carved into trees, animal remains arranged in patterns that suggested sacrifice. In 1978, local police discovered what they described as an active cult site deep in the forest, complete with robes, candles, and evidence of recent animal sacrifice. The site was documented and photographed, But by the time investigators returned the following day, everything had been removed. The cult activity reached its terrifying peak in the 1980s when several brutal murders were connected to the forest. In 1987, the body of a 15-year-old girl was discovered in the forest under circumstances that suggested ritualistic elements. The case shocked the community and sparked a massive investigation. While arrests were eventually made, many in law enforcement believed that the full extent of cult activity in the forest was never uncovered. Other bodies have been found in the forest over the years, and there are persistent rumors of sites that have never been discovered. But the human evil that has occurred in the Freetown Fall River State Forest is only part of the story. The paranormal activity here is off the charts. Rangers who patrol the forest have reported experiences that defy explanation. In one documented incident, a ranger heard what sounded like a large group of people chanting deep in the forest late at night. When he went to investigate, he found nothing. No people. No footprints. Nothing. But the chanting continued, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. He radioed for backup, but by the time other rangers arrived, the sound had stopped. The apparitions reported in the forest are among the most vivid and terrifying in the entire triangle. Hikers have reported seeing a woman in white floating between the trees before vanishing. Others have seen what appears to be a Native American warrior standing on rocks, watching them, only to disappear when approached. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the sound of someone walking directly behind you on the trails. Witnesses describe hearing footsteps that match their own pace, but when they turn around, no one is there. When they stop walking, the footsteps stop. When they start again, the footsteps resume. This has been reported by dozens of people over the years, and it's consistent enough that researchers consider it one of the hallmark phenomena of the forest. Cars have also been known to malfunction within the forest boundaries. Batteries drain for no reason. Electronics stop working. Compasses spin erratically. One researcher told me about a GPS unit that led him in circles for over 3 hours, despite showing a straight line route on the screen. When he finally emerged from the forest, the GPS began working perfectly again. There's something about this land that interferes with technology in ways that shouldn't be possible. I mentioned Anawan Rock earlier, and now it's time to explore this location in detail, because what happens here might explain everything. Anawan Rock is a large rocky outcropping in Rehoboth, and it is the exact location where the last great battle of King Philip's War came to an end. Chief Anawan, one of King Philip's most trusted war leaders, was captured here in August of 1676. He and his warriors were promised that they would be treated fairly if they surrendered. They surrendered. They were executed. And according to local legend, Anawan used his dying breath to curse the land. Whether you believe in curses or not, what happens at Anawan Rock is difficult to explain any other way. For over 3 centuries, people who visit the rock have reported the same phenomena. They see spectral fires burning on the rock face, flames that produce no heat and leave no scorch marks. They hear the sounds of a battle that ended over 300 years ago. War cries, screams, the clash of weapons. They see Native American warriors standing on the rock, looking out over the forest as if still guarding their homeland. These aren't occasional reports. These are consistent, documented phenomena that have been witnessed by hundreds of people over the years. In 1973, a team of paranormal researchers conducted a nighttime investigation at Anawan Rock. What they captured on tape has never been fully explained. Audio recordings from that night contain what sounds like Native American chanting, despite no one being present except the researchers. Photographs taken during the investigation show unexplained light anomalies and what some researchers believe are the partial manifestations of human figures. The team reported feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness at the location, a grief so profound that several members began crying without understanding why. Local historians believe that Anawan Rock serves as a kind of anchor point for the supernatural activity in the triangle. The trauma of what happened there, the betrayal and the bloodshed, created a wound in reality that has never healed. Some researchers go even further, suggesting that Anawan's curse didn't just make the land haunted. It opened something, a doorway, a portal, something that allows things to pass between worlds. Whether you believe that interpretation or not, there's no denying that Anawan Rock sits at the geographic center of the paranormal activity, and that the experiences reported there are more intense than anywhere else in the Triangle. Today, the Bridgewater Triangle attracts paranormal researchers from around the world. Teams equipped with the latest technology have spent thousands of hours trying to document and understand what is happening in this region. And while definitive proof remains elusive, the body of evidence they've collected is genuinely compelling. Thermal imaging cameras have captured heat signatures in the Hockomock Swamp that do and correspond to any known animal. Audio recorders have picked up voices speaking in what linguists believe may be the Wampanoag language, despite no living speakers being present. Electromagnetic field detectors consistently register anomalous readings at specific locations within the Triangle, readings that spike and drop in patterns that seem almost intentional, as if something is trying to communicate. Several theories have been proposed to explain the concentration of phenomena. Some researchers point to the geology of the region, noting that large deposits of quartz and granite underlie much of the Triangle. These minerals have piezoelectric properties, meaning they can generate electric charges under pressure. Some theorize that the natural geology creates a kind of energy field that either attracts paranormal activity or makes it more visible to human perception. Others focus on the water. The Hockomock Swamp and numerous ponds and streams create a high-moisture environment that some researchers believe may facilitate the manifestation of entities. The trauma theory remains the most widely accepted among paranormal researchers. According to this view, the extreme violence of King Philip's War, combined with centuries of subsequent tragedy, including cult activity, murders, and unexplained deaths, has saturated the land with negative energy. This energy creates conditions where the boundary between the physical world and whatever lies beyond becomes thin, allowing things to cross over. The Wampanoag understood this intuitively, which is why they warned their people to avoid certain areas. Modern science is only now beginning to catch up. So, what do we make of the Bridgewater Triangle? After months of research and countless hours reviewing evidence, I've come to believe that something genuinely anomalous is happening in southeastern Massachusetts. The consistency of reports across more than 3 centuries, the diversity of phenomena, the credibility of many witnesses including police officers, researchers, and ordinary citizens with nothing to gain from making up stories, all that points to something real, something we don't yet understand. The Bridgewater Triangle challenges our assumptions about what's possible. It asks us to consider that the universe may be far stranger and far more layered than our everyday experience suggests. The Wampanoag knew this. They lived with this knowledge for thousands of years. We've forgotten it, but the Triangle keeps reminding us. If you ever find yourself driving through southeastern Massachusetts, pay attention. Notice that the air feels different. Notice if the shadows seem to move in ways they shouldn't. Notice if you hear something that doesn't quite belong. You might be passing through one of the most mysterious places on Earth, and something might be watching you pass. If you want me to cover any specific case from the Bridgewater Triangle in more detail, let me know in the comments. I've got enough material for at least 5 more videos on this topic alone. Subscribe if you want to see them. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next upload. And whatever you do, don't go into the Hockomock Swamp alone after dark. Some places are haunted, and some places are something else entirely. And that brings us to the end of our journey into the Bridgewater Triangle. But here's the thing. This isn't really an ending at all. Right now, as you're watching this video from the comfort of your home, something is moving through the Hockomock Swamp. Right now, someone driving down a lonely Massachusetts road is about to see something they can't explain. Right now, the spirits at Anawan Rock are waiting for the next visitor. The Bridgewater Triangle doesn't stop. It never has. And based on everything we've uncovered today, it probably never will. I want to be real with you for a second. When I started researching this topic, I thought it would be just another paranormal video. Another collection of spooky stories to entertain you for half an hour. But the deeper I went, the more I realized that we're dealing with something genuinely significant here. The sheer volume of credible witnesses, the consistency of reports across 3 centuries, the documented police records, and official investigations. This isn't folklore. This isn't legend. Something is happening in southeastern Massachusetts, and the fact that mainstream science continues to ignore it doesn't make it any less real. Thank you for spending the last 30 minutes with me. Seriously. In a world of endless distractions, short attention spans, and a million other things competing for your time, the fact that you chose to watch this video until the very end means everything to me. This channel exists because of viewers like you. Every view, every like, every comment, every subscription, it all adds up to something bigger. We're building a community of people who refuse to accept surface-level explanations. People who want to go deeper. People who understand that the world is far stranger than we've been told. My name is Creator Name, and until next time, keep your eyes open, question everything, and remember, just because something can't be explained doesn't mean it isn't real. The shadows are full of secrets, and we're just getting started uncovering them. Stay safe out there. I'll see you in the next one.